Good evening, and hello to everyone. First of all, let me say welcome back. And I hope you all had a beautiful day today. I'm going to jump right in here so that we can get going and not take up too much of your time this evening. Let me first say, for those of you who may not be aware, for those of you who do not know, we had some information given to us earlier today, pertaining to a fire that had taken place in Hampton, Virginia. There seems to have been an apartment complex and there seems to have been an apartment complex and it was the Hampton apartment complex. I don't have the name, but I'm going to put the information out anyway. If you were to Google a apartment complex fire in Hampton, Virginia, you'd come up with the details. But I wanted to announce this tonight to all of you all, because apparently in this apartment complex, we have upward of 35, 40, maybe 45, as many as 45 families that are members of the House of Prayer that live there. As I understand it, all of those families in the complex are now displaced. The information that I received is that there's nothing remaining. It is a total loss of all of the things and the items and the property values that were there located inside of this complex. That which was not destroyed by fire apparently was damaged or undone by the water that was used to put the fire out. At any rate, again, the report that I have received is that all of these families, these households, they're now displaced and they have nothing. The Red Cross has been contacted and apparently maybe assisting and helping out. There is a congregation there. I believe the congregation's name, Ivy Baptist Church of Newport News, Virginia. And they have been doing a lot to assist the families with clothing, with basic necessities, with whatever it is that they could assist with. However, an entire complex, and again, 41 households, families that are members of the organization, we should not simply be looking out for members of the organization. We should be jumping in with both feet to do whatever we can for all of the families that have been displaced, for anyone and everyone, whether they're members or not. We've had a track record of going into communities to offer assistance, but only to those who are members of the organization. I recall when Hurricane Helen had struck, and Georgia took a pretty gruesome hit. The assistance that was sent stated that only the members of the House of Prayer could be allowed to receive whatever assistance was sent. And that assistance did not come from the organization itself. That assistance came from the members. We are appealing to the leadership of our organization, which is a nonprofit under 501c3, that our leaders, whether pastors, whether elders, whether auxiliary officers and presidents, whether the staff or the bishop in his office, that they not take my word for it, but assign someone to make some phone calls, to get online, to determine what did take place so that you will have all the facts, how many families were affected by this incident, how many families have been displaced, how many families are still in need, and to do something to assist the households there in Hampton, Virginia. We know that we have several houses of prayers there, not a large number, but 2 in Newport News, 2 in Norfolk. There's one in Hampton, and there's one in Portsmouth. We have another one in Virginia Beach, and there's another in Hickory. We can do something and not stand on the side and do nothing. So once again, this is an appeal. And my hope is that not only the people there, but the pastors and the members will hear something from our headquarters, that they will get at least a letter notifying them that they are looking into what assistance is needed, if need be, to reach out also to the Red Cross, to reach out to Ivy Baptist Church of Newport News. And I'm sure they can assist you with not only what they've been doing already, but with what additional resources might be necessary for these households. I understand that Ivy Baptist Church has opened up their facilities and even allowed them to reside there, even if it's temporarily, so that they would have a place to sleep other than on the streets. And their congregation has come forward to also help with whatever it is that they can be of assistance with also. So we want to take our hats off to Ivy Baptist Church of Newport News and all of the individuals in that community that has come forward to assist all of the households that happen to be in this unfortunate situation. And we will await to hear from our organization to see if there's any type of assistance that can be offered to those families as well as to the community there. We don't particularly like hearing anybody that are in these types of situations. We know that there was a huge wildfire out on the West Coast not too long ago, and many families were displaced. And again, it should not be about our members, but things like that do happen, and they are unexpected. And when those things do take place, we should be available to do whatever it is that we can, not because it could be us, but because we should simply be caring and considerate of one another. So we will wait to see what happens. And for those of you who are able to hear any information on this, by all means, please keep us updated so that we can continue to put this information out to allow individuals online to know how things have progressed since that time. And I believe the fire had taken place May the 8th. So this would have been on Friday. And since that time, I'm sure over the course of the weekend, it was difficult. But since that time, I'm sure whatever resources might have been available by Ivy Baptist Church, they may be getting stretched thin. They're nowhere near our size, but they, I'm told, have been doing what they can. So once again, we applaud their efforts, their pastor, their leaders in that nation, as well as the members of the congregation and the community for pitching in to do whatever they could to assist those families. That said, we are here now getting ready to go into the procedures that take place during most meetings. And we want to take the opportunity to allow you all to understand not only what takes place, but how it should take place and the things that unravel during official meetings. First of all, let me say that this video is for informational and educational purposes only. And I have to also remind everyone that the things that I share are my opinion. We have individuals that will be coming in at some point in time later, if not sooner, for them to confirm whether or not my opinions have been accurate, or to touch on things that I did not touch on, or anything else that may come up for that matter. With that said, we've been seeing quite a few things in our organization that the members were not aware of, that they were not a part of, that they had no knowledge of, that they were not privy to. And as a result, we've ended up in a very sticky situation where we're now at a point where our backs are against the wall and something needs to be done yesterday. So that said, we've covered the auxiliary bylaws, we've covered the, Constitution. I'm going to be picking through the Are You Aware? However, on tonight, I'm going to do an introduction for Robert's Rules of Order. And let me begin by sharing with you this. This is a program given to the members of the United House of Prayer for All People. On the back, you notice it has the creed and it has the purpose. Okay. Creed and purpose of the House of Prayer is put on almost everything that they put out. And this program is for 2004, given to the members during 2004 Memorial Day weekend. And the first thing we see when we open it up is a letter from the bishop. Now, I'm showing you this because this is intentional. And look at what it says here. Special notice, okay, to draw your attention in. Big, bold writing. So when the members of the organization, when they get this, they immediately fan through it and start reading through it because it's exciting. Every year, it's exciting to see what new literature we're going to have access to. And this is done in order to excite the people. This is all intentional. Now, this letter, you see, oh boy, I'm sorry. Someone just sent me a text with a recording. And oh boy, they texted under the recording, he has lost his mind. So I haven't, I'm not going to look at it yet, listen to it. But I'll come back and I'll share with the channel. But this is intentional. Whenever they write these letters, it's to excite the people, to excite the people. This was written May 28th. That's the date. It wasn't written on the 28th. That's the date. It's dated for the 28th. Okay, May 28th. You will notice that the date on the front, that Saturday, is May 29th. Now, why am I going over this? Every single thing that I do is going to be for a purpose. Every single thing that I show is going to be for a lesson. Now, I need you all to understand that this is intentional. This is done, again, to excite the members, to distract the members away from what it is that the members really should be paying attention to. So, I almost call this Exhibit A, right? In a court hearing, that would become evidence, but we're not in a court hearing, so it's not Exhibit A. That's the first thing I wanted to show you. This here is the second. And this one is dated, as you see, April 16th, 2008. Why is the date important? Because the date shows that this letter went out to the organization in ample time prior to the Memorial Day weekend of that year. April 16th, this is mid-April. Memorial Day is at the end of May, right around 6 weeks or so. And it has the date here of the General Assembly. And then it has the date of the services. On Saturday night, May 24th, and on Sunday, May 25th at 12 noon, services will be held at the Convention Center. On May 23rd, 2008, the General Assembly will be held that Friday. Now, the reason why these letters are sent out is, once again, to excite and distract. How does it work? Well, we're going to start sending you out material before Memorial Day, and it goes something like, peace to the pastors, officers, and members. God has given his servant Sweet, sweet, sweet. And then it goes in. It is important that we remember the teachings of our great leader. And every time we have people read, they read it with emphasis. And principles for which they stood. This goes into thanking, and it goes into informing. And this is what I want you all to hear. During the Memorial Weekend, we will have a celebration in honor of, and this is how the excitement comes in. So now people are excited and they're geared up, right? While getting their plans, getting their tickets, getting their time off, getting their money together, right? And they're looking forward to go to Washington to celebrate. That's the trick. All over the organization, the members should not be looking to go to Washington to celebrate. All the organization, the members should be looking to go to Washington to handle business. Especially since the entire organization does not have any meetings or gatherings or conferences at all whatsoever, other than the General Assembly one time per year. Remember, we talked about the General Assembly, how it is a substitute for a board of directors. So the General Assembly acts as a board of directors. Therefore, the General Assembly delegates coming from every single congregation around the organization, 2 per congregation, along with the pastor, who has an obligation. The pastor has an obligation to represent the members of the congregation of which he is supposed to serve. Problem has been within the organization that the pastors have not been serving the congregations. The pastors have been serving the bishops. With that in mind, when they go, they're supposed to be a type of third representative for that congregation. But what we've seen over the decades is that the pastors are not serving the members of the congregation. They're going and they're quietly sitting. They're quietly not saying anything. They're quietly observing and not interrupting. They're not interrupting. They're not engaging. They're supposed to be a representative. So by law, every pastor has obligations to do certain things to look out for the people in their congregation. One of which, when they go to the General Assembly, they're supposed to also monitor everything taking place. Now, why am I talking about this? Because when we get to Robert's Rules of Order, there are particular rules and guidelines that are supposed to be applied and adhered to, supposed to be followed. So if you understand what is supposed to happen based on a delegate and what their responsibility is, a pastor and what their responsibility is, a council member and what their responsibility is, somebody holding a credential and what their responsibility is, or a local elder or bishop, then you'd be able to determine whether or not things are being done correctly or whether or not things are being done incorrectly. Right now, I'm about to show you that things have not only been done incorrectly, but things have been done incorrectly, intentionally, all these years. And we're going to show you by their paperwork. Okay. This is the letter to excite you 6 weeks before you make your way to Washington. Now, who's getting excited whenever they hear this letter? By this time, the delegates know who they are. By this time, they already are aware that they are going to be taking a trip to Washington, D.C. in order to sit in on the General Assembly. So when you hear this letter, now we're excited because you are going to be a part of the most important meeting of the year for this organization. Now, so that you understand that we are supposed to be abiding by Robert's Rules of Order, look at this guideline. It says here, you see that letterhead, House of Prayer letterhead, and it says standing rules established by precedent for the General Assembly of the United House of Prayer in the election of a bishop for use in the General Assembly of May 23rd, 2008. Most important type of meeting in the organization. Now, with that said, let's look at the bottom of the first paragraph. It says, we are using these standing rules and other long-established rules of the church today. Robert's Rules of Order, 10th edition, 2000, shall be applicable only in such instances which are not covered by the rules of the church. Now, before we go further, I'm going to share with you that you just saw something that's a violation and did not know it. This is how this organization has been conducting business year after year after year after year after year. By doing things without alerting the members of the organization to the very things that they're doing. Those sitting at the top. They're doing things that they're not alerting the members of the organization to know the things that they're doing. What do I mean by that? Well, let me show you again. Here, Robert's Rules of Order, 10th edition, 2000, shall be applicable only in such instances which are not covered by the rules of the church. Only. The violation here is that the people of the General Assembly did not vote to make Robert's Rules of Order secondary to any rules of the church. And because the leadership put Robert's Rules of Order secondary to the rules of the church, it allows them to be able to make the rules. Look at this. A lot of times Things are being done right in front of you and we don't even know it. If I showed you this letter, you would not know what to look for, and it would escape you. But here's the beginning of the letter. And most people right now have no idea what to find or look for. Well, I need to find that. Rule number 1. And why do I need to find it? Because of this question. Who set these rules? You and I, we didn't vote to apply these rules. You and I never got a packet in the mail. 1 second. You and I, we didn't receive a packet in the mail telling the members of the organization that we need to establish rules for the upcoming General Assembly for the specific purpose of having an election. As we go into Robert's Rules of Order, what you're going to find is that even rules that's being applied to anything are supposed to be voted on. No one, the General Counsel, the General Assembly Secretary, the General Assistant Secretary, and not even the Bishop or CEO can arbitrarily write up rules for people to follow without those people having the discussion, putting it to a vote as to whether or not they agree. We've had rules being made up for the longest time that are just given to us to follow, and the members just take it and we just start marching. First lesson: everything in a meeting must be voted on and agreed to. Everything. That includes rules. Everything. It also includes what you will see not on this page. And what is that? Program. The meeting is not a program. The meeting is a meeting. And instead of a program, what we should have is an agenda. And if we have an agenda, that agenda is supposed to be voted on by the people. When it comes to the meeting, everything that's going to be discussed is supposed to be placed on an agenda, sent to the members of the General Assembly for them to vote on that agenda, to approve of that agenda before the agenda becomes official. And you're going to find, as I share with you these things, you're going to find that that is to be done before anything else. So when it comes to what was just said, the rules, Robert's Rules of Order shall be applicable only in such instances which are not covered by the rules of the church. They did that. And they did that so that they can control the General Assembly. So that they're able to say, no, that does not apply here. Well, the Robert's Rules of Order, no, that doesn't apply here. That is only in the event that we don't have a law that takes care of. Listen, people, don't fall for it. This is why we're having this video. When you see people in front of you trying to take, in front of you trying to remove, in front of you trying to bind you to agreements, but they're not letting you see the agreements they're trying to bind you to, you need to be very suspicious. You need to back up and make sure that you understand everything that's in writing. As we go forward, I'm going to show you all of this was a trap. This was entrapment. Now, here, General Assembly, let's look at the date. (2008), May 23rd. Program. General Assembly called to order by Mr. Bailey. He was not a bishop yet. Order of business. Roll call of all pastors, elders, and representatives by Mr. A.D. Cunningham. Now, when you go down further, minutes of the last General Assembly are to be read after roll. Then election of bishop pursuant to the Constitution and bylaws. They love writing that in there. They love writing that in there so that they can say, well, see, the law says we have to do that. This is what the law says. Now, let me pause for a moment. Members of the organization and others similar to ours, when you see leadership, stop what they're doing, put all of their attention on one thing, and then go after that one thing, you need to be absolutely watchful of that one thing and of those individuals over that one thing. This is what I mean. When they set this program up, look at the agenda. The order of business, they called it. It's supposed to be an agenda. But when they set this up, they set this up to serve them. Roll call first, and then minutes of the last General Assembly session. You and I both know that they do not read the minutes of the General Assembly. But it has to be written here as if they're going to read the minutes. They know they're not going to read the minutes. It's a part of their plan to not read the minutes, which is why as soon as it's read, what's next? Well, we have to read the minutes of last year. Now, a lot of people might be excited because when they travel, they're going to see a whole lot of things going on, especially when it comes to Memorial Day weekend. But when you're traveling to take part in the General Assembly, you need to understand that there is a set of rules that says how that whole thing is supposed to work. Now, when they come together with this, the minutes are not going to be read. They're going to put forward an election, again, pursuant to the Constitution and bylaws, and they're going to control that election. And they already have whoever it is that they're going to put in that seat. But they have to go by certain protocols to make it look official. And this is why they have lawyers, even security, sometimes a parliamentarian. So people will see, oh, wow, they got outside members in here. But the problem with that is, again, the people didn't vote for that. The people did not say, we are going to allow you to have a parliamentarian or lawyers or judges here. So already we're seeing controls being enforced and put on the people by senior minister, as well as General Assembly Secretary, who's letting the senior minister have his way, right? What do you mean, Brother Lewis? Well, again, here, the senior minister presiding over the General Assembly. Now, how did he get to preside over the General Assembly? The people didn't decide that. Who did? Bishops and Constitution Committee. Now, as we get ready to go through this paperwork, I need you all to understand this here as it unfolds. Here at the bottom, at the bottom, here at the bottom, election of bishop, and then afterwards, what are you going to see? Another election of secretary and assistant secretary. And what do you see again in parentheses? Pursuant to Constitution and bylaws. Whenever it suits them, they want to say, well, the bylaws say this, the Constitution say that. But the problem is they already know who they're going to elect for the General Assembly Secretary. The same way they already know who they're going to elect for the bishop. Now, yes, the people are the ones who vote. The people are the ones who come together. The people are the one who has the numbers. But they have been doing this year in and year out for so long that they now know how to condition the people to vote for who they want the people to vote for. So in the minds of the people, they start putting out things like, well, you know, the senior minister, I don't think he knew blah, 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 blah. Well, we're not going to have to worry about it because even though he's new, we know that he's being guided. This is how it starts. And this is how people begin to look to the senior minister as their spiritual advisor because of these words. All of this information is right here in front of us, doing a psychological job of getting the members to see certain people. Senior minister is what he is. And right there, acting chief executive officer. Well, why do they put that there? Why do they put the words acting chief executive officer? It's not necessary to do that. Once you say senior minister, everyone in the organization knows who you are. Once you say senior minister, everybody outside the organization, they understand who you are. So why is it when something happens to a bishop, why is it that the bishop to be will begin to put acting chief executive officer after their name? It is to condition the people to begin seeing them as the chief executive officer. Since they're acting as it anyway, well, it only makes sense to go ahead and put them in the seat. After all, the last chief executive officer was pleased enough to name him the senior minister. And that too came out of the Constitution. But remember, the people didn't put that there. They did. And they've been using the Constitution year in and year out to control the members of this organization, as well as do other things that no one's supposed to know anything about. And it all starts from them setting the rules. It begins when they set the rules. Right now, Mr. Cunningham and company are setting the rules for this coming General Assembly, expecting the same thing to happen that's been going on year after year after year. The members are going to come from around the organization, and they're going to do whatever it is that we tell them according to the rules. No, you can't do that because the rules say you can't. You can't do this because the rules say you can't. Well, there's no rule there before. Yes, but I retain the authority and to make a rule anytime I see fit. Okay, are you sure you'd like to do that? Yes, I want to utilize my authority to make sure that individuals are on the door the day of the General Assembly so that we can have the authority to put them out if we see fit. If we don't like how they look, if we know that they're a friend of whoever, we can put them out and there's nothing nobody going to do about it because I have those individuals on my side. This is how it's been working. And then the members get there and they do whatever it is that they've been conditioned to do. Sit there, say nothing whatsoever. They don't say anything. They're quiet. And the men on the General Council, they're conducting everything because it's already been planned. The General Assembly Secretary, he maneuvers the pieces. While the man at the top, senior minister, he sits back and observes while waiting for them to have his name and then eventually put in the seat. Now, I can show how all that is done, but let me go ahead and continue going forward. This is what you need to understand now. Right here. After the election of a secretary, general discussion for proposals. General discussion for proposals. That is supposed to be there in the event that there are proposals. You open up the floor for discussion, and then you see which direction the discussion goes for the proposals. But if there's no proposals, it's not necessary to put that there. But again, they're being put on this program to make it look like we have things that we're planning to do. But we can't allow you to see what it is that we've already planned. And immediately after that, we have adjournment. We're going to adjourn. Now, the people had nothing to do with this. So understand now, if the people had nothing to do with this, everything took place now can be challenged because it was done out of order, which is why it's called Robert's Rules of Order, so that everything can be done decently and in order. And as long as everything is done according to lawful, legal procedures, then it can be verified that everything was done in order. In order. But if it's not in order, then everything that was done can be challenged later. So now let's pay attention. We're going to move a little faster. That was 2004. What do we see here? The Memorial Day program. Again, here's your distraction. It is to excite you. For what year? 2009. Here at the bottom. 2009. And what do you see? After 2008, sure enough, the senior minister is now the bishop. The senior minister is now the bishop. And what have we been saying over all these years? Whenever something happens to the bishop, everyone around the organization, for the most part, says, well, we already know who the next one's going to be, senior minister. But how do we know who the next one's going to be if the vote is legitimate? The election determines who it's going to be, not somebody being selected as a senior minister. Now, are you beginning to see the con? Case in point, here's the front cover, and here's another letter. To get you excited once again, Memorial Day weekend is here. Memorial Day weekend is here. We're going to celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. It takes the people's mind off of business. People are not going to come ready to do business. People's mind going to be on enjoying Memorial Day weekend. They're going to be excited. But they're not going to come to do business. And therefore, year after year after year after year, all these people from around the country come in here to do business. This year, we should be preparing our minds to come and handle business. And by the time I get done with this information, you should be knowledgeable enough to see how we've been tricked again and again and again by these men who took advantage of our trust and did things to cause people to give them all of their trust while they knew they were tricking us and deceiving us. Here, in this 2009 letter, before Memorial Day weekend came, he is now exciting the people. And in this one, he's preparing the people for something else that he did, the return program. And he starts going back. It was Mr. Grace who said, every member should be on an auxiliary and be in uniform. Every member should attend Sunday school. We should hold fast and pray. We should attend the house of prayer daily. We should be baptized and filled with the Holy Ghost and fire. Many other things were taught by these great men, and it's to put thoughts on your mind. You should be ready to get ready to start doing this, if you're not doing it already. What have we learned? Sunday school. He told you Sunday school. What have we learned about Sunday school? It is indoctrination. And that's why these men are pushing Sunday school, to indoctrinate the people. And as long as you're indoctrinated, you're going to do whatever they want. You're going to give them whatever they want. You're going to give them as much money as they want. You're not going to complain. You're not going to ask questions. You're not going to kick against the thread. And this is why they use these psychological tricks against the members of the organization. Let's go further. 2009, right? That's 2009. Okay. Well, what happened 2009? Well, in 2009, we had another letter. And in this letter, here we go. In this letter, believe it or not, this letter is a mistake. Look. May 22nd, 2009, program. Turn it over. General Assembly called to order by Mr. Williams, Oakley, all of these are council members, right? Order of business, Mr. A.D. Cunningham, General Assembly Secretary, every single year. Why? Because that is what they were told to do every single year. Keep watching. Minutes of the last General Assembly session, 2008, is going to be waived. They're not going to read it, but it's on the order of business. Then what? Election of secretary and assistant secretary. And yes, this also says pursuant to the Constitution. They need you to understand we're doing what the Constitution says. We're doing what the Constitution says. Okay? They need you to understand that. The election, we're doing what the Constitution says. To elect a General Assembly Secretary, we're doing what the Constitution says. The rules of the election, we're doing what the Constitution says. Now, look at this. Revision, updating of the Constitution and bylaws. Here we go. Pursuant to the recommendation by the U.S. District Court and General Assembly of 1962. This was a trick. And that trick deceived all of the members of the organization. How? Because this is the General Assembly of 2009. And they just said, well, we're revising the Constitution of the House of Prayer behind the backs of all the members because it was advised for us to do so. Look at what they're saying. It was advised for us to do so as a recommendation from the U.S. District Court in 1962. 1962. Almost 50 years later. 50 years later, they said, we were advised to do this. I need you all to understand, these people have been running circles around the entire organization. Now, what they just printed, this is evidence that supports that y'all did not have the authority to do what you did. Now, what am I talking about? Something else that goes back to Robert's Rules of Order. You took it upon yourselves to do what? Revised and updated the Constitution and bylaws of the United House of Prayer for All People behind the backs of the members. Now, this is 2009. This is the document coming from none other than the Constitutional Revision Committee of the General Assembly of 2009. Now, look at who's on the committee. The committee members are appointed by, they were appointed by Mr. Bailey, Apostle W.E. Howe as chairman, Apostle J. Wynn, Apostle A.D. Cunningham, Apostle Sterling Green, and Attorney Deneen Banks. That was your Constitutional Revision Committee. A committee that was illegally assembled by the bishop without the authority given to him by the members of the General Assembly in order to give them an order, illegally to revise and update the Constitution. Now, the problem with that is Mr. Howell was a judge of the General Council. In other words, you should have known better. Another problem with that is Mr. Cunningham was already traveling with the General Council. In other words, you should have known better. Mr. Wynn was also traveling with the council, and I believe he was probably a judge already. Not sure. But even if you weren't, you should have known better. And the other individual was an attorney. I don't even have to say that you should have known better. Because now the attorney knows, according to Robert's Rules of Order, that they don't have the authority to do what they were doing. According to the laws of the land and the regulating agencies that regulate, supervise, and look into issues for 501c3 organizations, you don't have the authority to do what you're doing. And with all of that in mind, they went on ahead and did it anyway. But we know that according to the Constitution at that time, it says Article 5, the General Assembly, and if you go down to the bottom, here, Section 9. If you go to the bottom, Section 9, it says, the General Assembly shall have, on 2/3 vote, authority to amend the Constitution and bylaws. Nobody else in this entire organization has the authority to amend the bylaws, including the bishop, including the revision committee. And that is why whenever they print these books up, they need to print them up to sound like this. Look at the top. I'm going to read from the second paragraph. The amendments set forth in this Constitution and bylaws were proposed. That's an important word, because before we amend anything, we're supposed to have proposals that the members vote on in the local congregations. And then they send those proposals, as long as they approve them, to the General Assembly to be voted on, right? Okay, now this is going to come up again in a few minutes. The amendments set forth in the Constitution and bylaws were proposed by this committee, so designated by the General Assembly of 1962. The problem is the General Assembly didn't set up that committee. So that is a lie. That was a lie. But look, it doesn't stop there. Look at the top paragraph again. The General Assembly of May 1973 adopted these changes and amendments. And it goes on to say in the next paragraph, the Constitutional Revision Committee, a standing committee of the General Assembly, heretofore duly designated and constituted for the purpose, after due deliberation, made the following recommendations. But the Constitutional Revision Committee is not a standing committee of the General Assembly. So that too is a lie. And what we find is under every single bishop, they refer to the Constitutional Committee, Revision Committee, as a standing committee of the General Assembly, as if it was designated by the people of the General Assembly. But we all know that it was a lie. Now, we're going to show you let me show you here. The latest and greatest Constitution, the masterpiece of Mr. Cunningham, that was put out in 2024. Okay. And let me show you, even in this book, what do we see? The very last one, the Constitutional Revision Committee, a standing committee of the General Assembly, heretofore duly designated and constituted for the purpose, after due deliberation. That means that the General Assembly designated that committee. But that too, Mr. Cunningham, was another lie. And members, if you don't think that Mr. Cunningham, Mr. Bailey, Mr. Madison, Mr. McCullough, and Mr. Grace, you don't think they've been using this book downtown in the courthouse in order to make all kinds of transactions behind the backs of the members, and we have no idea what those transactions were, what monies were involved, what dealings had taken carried out. We don't know what money came in. We don't know what money went out. We don't know where the money went when it did come in. We don't know who spent what and who was given what and who had authority to say and decide what. We have the opportunity to learn about Robert's Rules of Order so that we can fix nonsense like this. Because if you don't, members, then this is what you're going to be stuck with. And this is why Mr. Cunningham is now going from city to city, all over the country, like it's December 25th, not dropping off gifts, but picking up gifts called love gifts, and telling everybody that he is what he claims he is, in order to get the delegates of this year's General Assembly scared enough and intimidated enough to walk in there and do absolutely nothing while he walks out with no changes whatsoever. They have lied enough. They've deceived and manipulated enough. And now I'm going to show you that he had a hand even in what this says. We see in this latest constitution that is packed with more lies. But the lies need to be told in order to convince the lawmakers or the regulators or the governing agencies downtown that the members of the House of Prayer will never talk to. The lies are here to convince them. The lies are here to convince them that the members of this organization are 100% in line behind these bishops having sole, S-O-L-E, trustee powers. A sole trustee, remember we told you before, is for the purposes of starting an organization. It's not for the purposes of having an organization that's growing, for you to have all the powers and abilities to do anything in that organization without question. 1 second. Now, I'm going to put this up for now. Now let me read this. This Constitutional Revision Committee put this together, and look at what they put inside of this letter. Okay, further, right here. Further, in accordance with, what does it say? Robert's Rules of Order on the method of handling by law provisions, proper notice of these general revisions was published in the General Assembly notice and program, which was distributed in advance to all of the congregations of this organization. That, I don't want to say it was a lie. Let me read again. Proper notice of these general revisions was published in the General Assembly notice and program, which was distributed in advance to all of the congregations of this organization. That may have been done, but it was a part of the deception. They sent it out in order to say that they sent it out. But just because they sent it out does not mean that they carried out lawful procedures. Let me let you see what I'm talking about. It says it went out. This present Constitutional Revision Committee focused only on those revisions of our Constitution immediately needed for the purpose as described in our supreme laws to protect the work of this organization. That is another lie. Now, I wrote on the side that this statement is not true, because by putting this notice here, it says that they sent this out to all the people to read it. They sent it out for all the people to understand what's in it. That's the reason why it has to be in black and white. But what should be here is that we sent this out and the people confirmed that they read it, that they discussed it, and that they understood it before being allowed to vote on it, whether or not they were willing to approve it. Only then can the organization say that the members gave their consent. But the people didn't give their consent. And we know that, and I'm going to show you in a minute. Now, we keep seeing in our paperwork Robert's Rules of Order, and this is why we're introducing to you Robert's Rules of Order. Now, with this in mind, look at what it says at the end of this notice. It says, therefore, this committee recommends that the present constitution and bylaws of the United House of Prayer, as last amended in 2002, continue in full force and effect, with the exception of the following revisions. That's legal jargon. This committee, this committee recommends that the present constitution and bylaws of the House of Prayer, as last amended, continue in full force and effect. That's legal jargon. In other words, it's saying not only are we putting it in black and white so that when y'all vote on this, you can say that all of the amendments made in the last book still stand, and we stand behind it in full force and effect, everything in it. But we're also in agreement that this change that y'all recommend will be made as well. Anytime the people legally voted to amend a constitution, then the next time there's a proposal, then the people don't have to put inside the proposal that we desire for the last amendments to remain in full force and effect. It's not necessary, but it's put here because they know that they're setting you and I up. They know that we don't know what's in that book. They know that the people don't understand. They know that they're not going to vote on these recommendations. And I'm going to show you right here. It says here, we recommend Article 3 composition. We recommend in the second line of the first sentence, strike the plural word trustees of the House of Prayer and substitute the singular word trustee. So it looks like this: consistent with the position of the bishop as sole trustee. So let's look at Article 3 composition and then the second line. What they recommended is that we look at Article 3 as recommended and the second line. This is the Constitution of 2006. And this is what it says. Article 3, second line. The organization shall be composed of the bishop, the prophet, elders, ministers, deacons, trustees of the House of Prayer, and all persons who shall in good faith, wait a minute, back up to that word. Do y'all see it? The members of the organization never had a clue. I'm going to read this again so y'all understand. The change they want it to be consistent with the placement of the bishop. To take that word, strike the plural word, trustees, and make it singular. Well, why? Consistent with the position of the bishop as sole trustee. Why would y'all want to change the word trustees to trustee? Trustees is plural. The members of the organization never knew that they had a bunch of trustees over these different accounts in the House of Prayer. The only ones that the members knew about was the bishop. So it should have only been sole trustee until it was changed. So my first question is, well, why is it that the Constitution is reflecting that we have plural trustees when there's only one bishop? And who are those trustees? Secondly, after the organization's been built, since Mr. Grace passed, Mr. McCullough's now passed, Mr. Bailey, Madison now passed, and Mr. Bailey just became bishop, why would you want this great big gigantic organization to have sole trustee put inside this book to replace what's here? Now, this is the 2009 book. And let's see. Article 3, composition. Article 3. What do you see? Elders, ministers, deacons, trustee. So what we're looking at is these recommendations by the Constitutional Revision Committee is another lie. These are not recommendations at all. These are the changes that the committee recommended to the bishop. They didn't recommend these changes to the General Assembly. Now, what you see is the second recommendation at the end of section 3, a new section is added. The section that would add Mr. Bailey's name, well, it's not in this book, but it's already in 2009. 2009's Constitution was available when the General Assembly voted on those changes, meaning that they were not proposals. They were revisions. The Constitutional Revision Committee had already revised the Constitution behind the backs of the members of the House of Prayer. The things that they wanted to change were in here. The things that they did change are in here. 2009, that were made available for sale immediately after the General Assembly was over. Now, at the end of this, it says, here, I'm not going to read that one about state chairman, but I am going to read this one. B, in section 2, beginning in line 10, after the phrase appeal may be allowed to, strike the words Board of Overseers and substitute the words with the General Counsel. You'll see my notes. This was power taken from the members in keeping with present practices so that people would know what this is about. Let me show you what it was about. This is in Article 10, Trials. And look at what it says. Appeal. Note. Let me go back down. That's 2009. Okay, section 2. Trials and section 2. Appeal may be allowed to the Board of Overseers and to the bishop. This one says, this is the 2009 version. Section 2. Appeal may be allowed to the general counsel and to the bishop, and the bishop's decision shall be final. What am I showing you? Why am I showing you that? First of all, for you to understand that in the Constitution here, it says there was a board of overseers. My question is, why is it that the members of the organization knew nothing about a board of overseers? Who were the board of overseers? At the same time, why is it that the board of overseers was replaced by the general counsel? I told you last week that the general counsel has been acting behind the backs of the members as a board of directors, even signing documents filed downtown. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you about this form is this. They replaced property of the church with property of the church and or organization. And they replaced church assets with church and or organization assets. Right here. Strike their article heading, new heading, property of the church and or organization. It changed from simply property of the church. And the next one, church assets, was changed to church and or organization assets. What that does is they gave even more power to the bishop and control over everything in the organization. But here's the last thing I want you to see. Look at this. Concluding statement by the presenter. Supreme, Your Honor. This concludes our committee report. A written copy of this report is provided for inclusion into the record, and I move adoption of this report. Apostle W.E. Howe, Chairman of the Constitutional Revision Committee, General Assembly, 2009. What does this say? This is not a report to the members of the organization. This is a report from the committee signed off by the chairman to the bishop. It was recommended to the bishop. It was even recommended that he adopt this report. And by his adoption of the report, he went on and gave his approval so that this report could be mailed off. And when it was mailed off, What this report shows is that the Constitution Revision Committee, along with the approval of the bishop, without consent of the members, without knowledge of the members, without members' approval, and without a single vote, they just replaced this Constitution of 2006 with a brand new Constitution of 2009. And when they did it, they had to make it look legit. So what did they say? Constitution and bylaws, as revised and approved by the General Assembly of May 22nd, 2009. But that is a lie, because the General Assembly did not revise this Constitution. The General Assembly did not even approve of the revisions to this Constitution. And who signed off on it? Mr. Bailey and Mr. Cunningham. In order to get downtown to believe that the members of the organization are 100% behind these changes, which takes more power from people of the organization and gives it to the bishop and to the general council. Now, I needed you all to understand this so that you understand how the General Assembly works currently. Because the General Assembly right now is not following Robert's Rules of Order. They're supposed to be, and they're deceiving the members of the House of Prayer into believing that they are, but they're not. Now, I just showed you this report. And this report gives the impression that this is to the members. But you see, as it was closed out, it was to the bishop, not to the members. Now, when the members of the organization got to Washington for the General Assembly, what did they see? When they got there for the General Assembly, this is what they saw. The order of business, roll call, minutes of the last General Assembly, which they always don't read, election of secretary and assistant. But look, revision and updating of the Constitution and bylaws. Now I ask you, did the members of the General Assembly revise this Constitution, or did they just put on this order of business that that is the next thing that we're going to take care of? And we have to put it on here because in order for it to be approved, we have to put it on the floor for a vote. And who's the one that's going to put it on the floor for a vote? Well, that would be our dear friend, the General Assembly Secretary, Mr. A.D. Cunningham, who's also working with the Constitution Revision Committee. As we saw right here, Apostle A.D. Cunningham. So he's working for the bishop behind the backs of the members. But in front of the members, he's the General Assembly Secretary, and he has to put this stuff on the floor so the people can vote on it illegally. because he knows that the members of the organization did not vote for these revisions. So if the members of the organization didn't vote on them, it's not supposed to go onto the floor of the General Assembly. But Mr. Cunningham's job was to put it out there so that the members would vote on it, because they needed to sell the idea that these revisions that are in the brand new Constitution, they needed the members to believe, not the members, they needed downtown to believe that the members were the ones that revised it. Now that you understand how they use the General Assembly to manipulate the organization, but secretly they're working for the bishop, while also secretly they're using the General Assembly Secretary and the Assistant General Assembly Secretary with the assistance of all the General Counsel to deceive all the members of the organization and to trick us into thinking that, oh, y'all came and handled business today. That was 2009. Here. Now we're going to speed up a little bit. Here, we saw another amendment done. And we know that because 2012, wait a minute, that's 22. 2012. Okay, it's over on the table. Well, let me just show you this. Nothing happened in 2012. There was no business. None. Now, I can't show you. I have that program over on the table, but I'll show you using 2013. Here's 2013. And whenever the bishop has nothing, 2013, here's your program. And look at the order of business. I'm just folding this so that you all can see everything. Order of business. Roll call. Apostle A.D. Cunningham, General Assembly Secretary, every year. Is it because he's doing such a good job? No. It's because he's working for the bishop. Now, he's got to slide these things in the General Assembly. He has to allow things to go through there without y'all knowing that he's letting things go through there illegally, because the bishop needs him to work for him by moving things through the General Assembly without the members knowing about it. Okay. Now, here, roll call. Look, minutes of the last General Assembly, which are never read, but it's got to be put on there. Okay. Election of secretary and assistant, all again, pursuant to Constitution. You got to have it. The Constitution says we have to do it, so we got to do it. Here's a question before I continue. Why is it that when things are working out for you all, you say for the members to believe that you're doing what you're supposed to do? Well, pursuant to the Constitution, we have to have this election. Pursuant to the Constitution, we have to get a General Assembly Secretary. Pursuant to the Constitution, he must have an assistant. Pursuant to the Constitution, pursuant to the Constitution, pursuant to the Constitution. But then when somebody catches you and the bishop and the General Assembly Secretary assistant and the Constitution Revision Committee when they catch you all violating the laws, when they catch the Constitution Committee, when they catch the General Counsel, when they catch the senior minister, when they catch the judges, the head judge of the General Counsel, when they catch all of you, including now pastors of the organization, violating the laws, breaking the laws, and then someone tries to come forward pursuant to the Constitution to hold you accountable pursuant to the Constitution and lay charges against you openly pursuant to the Constitution in front of the members so that the accuser faces the accused pursuant to the Constitution, who is not going down to the civil courts, but coming through the organization's courts so that we can resolve it pursuant to the supreme laws. Why is it that when we do things pursuant to the Constitution, if it doesn't work in y'all's favor, you ignore it and push it to the side? Let me continue. It says here, election of secretary and assistant pursuant to Constitution and bylaws, and then what? Benediction. So it seems whenever the bishop does not want to add things to the Constitution or take things away from the people by adding things to the Constitution, when it seems that they don't want to pretend to have different things being done for the members, when there's nothing that the bishop is up to, when there's nothing that the General Assembly secretary needs to sneak through the General Assembly, well, then all of a sudden, what we're looking at are quite simply orders of business where the people came from all over the country, but there is no business. Roll call, you're going to waive the minutes, you're going to elect the secretary for next year, and then you're going to have benediction. And people travel from all over the country, spend all that money, also got fines, and had to sit there for 4 or 5.5 hours, falling asleep. Some people drooling on their chests, waking up embarrassed because you coming in late, only to get nothing done. And then to be told before you leave what a good time we're going to have this weekend. When nothing is readily available for the bishops to sneak over the people behind their back, this is what the General Assembly order of business looks like. There's nothing there. You're doing nothing whatsoever. You're coming, you're sitting, you're leaving, and then you come back another year later. This is what has been going on. And this is why I need you all to understand this last thing. This is 2022. In 2022, let's look at the order of business. Roll call, minutes, election, amendments to the Constitution. and bylaws of the United House of Prayer. And then what? Benediction. Tell me, do you all see the word proposals? It's not there. It's on the order of business that the amendments to the Constitution must be voted on. I need y'all to understand how I said that. The amendments to the Constitution must be voted on. This is what I mean. This is the 2022 Constitution. That was put out by Mr. Bailey. In 2022, this page this page, this page, and this, and this, and this, I need y'all to understand just how much work they put in that 2022 Constitution. All these pages, every single page I'm showing you has changes to the Constitution. Every single page I'm showing you. Now, this was the work of the General Assembly Secretary, working along with Miss Mickey Bailey, Mr. Jimmy Jones, Mr. Cuthbert, Clarence Cuthbert, and Mr. Bailey. All these changes. And one more page. All of these changes are in this book. So when you see on this order of business for 2022, Mr. A.D. Cunningham, the General Assembly Secretary, he had to slide that through that General Assembly because the amendments to the Constitution had already been carried out. And immediately after that one vote, look at what they needed to have done: benediction. This is unlawful, completely illegal. All those changes I just showed to you, every last one of them, put here in this book. Now, your problem is this. Look at the date of the General Assembly. May 27th, 2022. And look, May 2022, this book was printed. And look at the date at the top. As revised and approved by the General Assembly on May 27th, 2022. Again, signed by Mr. Bailey and Mr. Cunningham. And they both lied again. And the entire organization is being governed under more lies. Now, when you see all of these pages of changes, all these pages, I ask you, all these pages, can you rightly, honestly say that the people in the General Assembly read, discussed, understood, and truly voted to amend the current Constitution with all of those changes by one vote? The law will blow that apart. But Mr. Cunningham needed to slide it through the General Assembly. Show you what I mean. These are minutes. Look at this. Minutes General Assembly minutes of 2022. General Assembly Friday was the date, May 27th, 2022. Now, according to these minutes, right here, keep telling you we need to understand what these people are doing right in front of members' faces. Now look at this. Now go down. Dad also stated, you see that? Dad also stated that 8 to 9 months ago, a group of 4 people made selections for review. Those 4 people are the head judge of the United House of Prayer, Mr. Cunningham, New England chairman, Mr. Jimmy Jones. Here, attorney, Sister Mickey Bailey, and Judge Cuthbert of Savannah, Georgia. Now, it was said in that meeting that there were some that did not know about these recommendations. Okay, here. I need you all to understand that minutes are official documents. Right here. Some of the new members did not understand everything. As said to the apostle, that he could not speak for other houses. Now watch carefully. He couldn't speak for other houses. The apostle took his seat. As stated, these proposals were not to be taken lightly. He said that every pastor was to have already had a meeting with their congregation because every member should be part of the process. Look at CT. CT approached the mic, explaining that he did not have a meeting, but had spoken to his chairman beforehand. Dad said this will not be tolerated. Then Dad asked if there was anyone else who didn't do what they were supposed to do. Several voices answered Dad saying no. Dad also said my members would tell me, and many voices said yes. Then Mr. Cunningham suggested no other pastors come up about that matter for what? Time's sake. What happened? Mr. Cunningham stopped the people as a good General Assembly secretary would, who knew that he needed to stop people from talking about that subject. He needed to get that through the General Assembly. He needed to open up a vote. He needed the people to go ahead and vote. Y'all stop talking about this. We're not going to entertain no more time talking about this. We're going to go ahead and have a vote. Now, they went on and voted on it anyway. And look at what it says. While votes were tallied, an announcement was made that next year will be his 15th anniversary. And the theme will be Addie Bailey, repairer of the bridge. What in the world does that have anything to do with the General Assembly? And why did they vote if everybody didn't know about these revisions? Why did Mr. Cunningham allow it on the floor? Because he needed it to go through. Why? Because that was the book that had 47 to 49 changes in it that would propel the bishop of the organization so far ahead by light years and give him more power and almost everything he needed in this organization for nobody to question him. Come next year, here we go again. 2023. What do you see? Well, 2023 order of business, roll call, Mr. Cunningham, minutes of the last General Assembly, minutes of the last General Assembly, election of the secretary, and then benediction. That's it. Nothing. So once again, when the bishop has nothing to change, nothing he wants done, then there's no business to be entertained in the General Assembly. People, y'all need to come this year ready for business. The next year, when I sent out my letter, asking for an investigation. This is what came back. Look at the date, 2024. Joseph Lewis, peace, Brother Lewis. Letterhead, House of Prayer. Peace, Brother Lewis. Document you sent to the General Assembly Secretary was received on March 18th. I wrote a proposal to investigate the bishop and the general council. And look, please note, this is not a proposal for the General Assembly. Yours in grace, Apostle Thompson, General Assembly Secretary. Why not? They took my proposal, threw it in the trash. I'm only reminding you so that you understand the importance of what we're about to cover. They threw my proposal in the trash, but look at this. Constitutional Revision Committee, May 2024. For the General Assembly of 24, submits the following proposal. Wait a minute. Why is it that the Constitutional Revision Committee before had recommendations or revisions? Why all of a sudden is it a proposal? It's because I was already writing letters to the members of the organization telling them about the proposal process, how it had not been followed. Now, all of a sudden, they're changing how they're doing things. All of a sudden now, the Constitution Revision Committee is writing a proposal. They weren't writing proposals before, but now we have a proposal. And her proposal, hers, Miss Mickey Bailey, a committee member, her proposal replaced mine. And what does her proposal say? Well, remember what I said about full force and effect. Look at what it says here. The Constitution, this committee recommends that the present Constitution and bylaws of the House of Prayer continue in full force and effect. They're doubling down on all those changes that were made in 22. And they want the members to vote in favor that they remain in full force and effect. This is why I'm saying the members of the House of Prayer don't understand what's being done legally. It is to bind you to these false, fraudulent constitutions where the bishops have taken power from the members and secured power for himself and distributed some of that power to the General Assembly Secretary and to the General Council. And they're getting y'all to sign off on it, saying that we agree with everything that he's doing, while they're pillaging the entire organization. Look at what it says. Here, Article 6, Bishops. At the end of Section 4, add a new section as follows. Section 5, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. A.D. Cunningham. Now we have May 2024 by Mr. Cunningham. And what do we have in Article 6? After Section 4, now you have Section 5 with Mr. A.D. Cunningham. And once again, it was already put in the book. Except this time, there's changes to this Constitution all over the place. And yet, again, just like the others, on the same date of the General Assembly, 2024, it says what? Revised and approved by the General Assembly, which is another lie, but not to our surprise, because we should know by now that Mr. Cunningham has lied and 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 lied over and over, over and over, along with the other bishops before him, has lied and lied and lied. All the pastors lie, 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 lie. These chairmen lie, lie, lie. Council lie, lie, lie. The staff lie, lie, lie. All full of lies. The Constitutional Revision Committee lie after lie after lie. But the members of the organization have been believing all of them. Why? Because the man, we say, is the holy and honored man in the land today, which is another lie. Now, signed by Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Jimmy Jones. Why is Mr. Jimmy Jones the new General Assembly Secretary? Because he took lessons while being mentored by Mr. Cunningham, who was the General Assembly Secretary before him, who was on the committee, Constitutional Revision Committee before him, who had to slide things through under the noses of the people before him, and he taught him how to do the exact same thing. And yet, we see on the minutes of 2023, when I say how these changes are supposed to come through proposal, they're supposed to come through proposal. And if the 2024 Constitutional Revision Committee is now saying that we have a proposal we would like to propose, then that would mean, if you backtrack, that the others should have also been proposals. So my question, when I went to the General Assembly in 2023, what about the proposals? I want to hear the minutes of 22, that has to do with the proposals of last year. And here, the majority agreed and one opposed the waiving of the minutes. The brother who opposed was asked to stand and state his objection. He wanted to hear the portion of the minutes surrounding the proposals from 2022. Mr. Cunningham stated that there were no proposals in 2022. So if there were not proposals in 2022, then that by admission means that the senior minister, an active general council member, who happened to also be the head judge, who also happened to be the General Assembly Secretary, who also happened to be a committee member of the Constitutional Revision Committee, had a hand in unlawfully revising and amending the Constitution of the United House of Prayer for All People unlawfully, since the Constitution itself says it can only be amended by the General Assembly by way of a two-step proposal process. It has to go through the houses locally first for them to vote on each and every single individual proposal, every change. And then those that make it through the houses are sent to Washington for them to count how many congregations approve before it gets sent to the General Assembly, as long as 50% or more, 1 or more percent of the congregations approve. But by you saying that there were no proposals, it means that you pushed amendments through the General Assembly. And now we have even more evidence. So, with all that said, knowing that the members have just now seen that the House of Prayer, our meetings are held by and carried out by Robert's Rules of Order, I'm going to go over an introduction. Robert's Rules of Order. Briefly, what we're about to cover as we close out tonight, tomorrow's video, we're going to jump right into Robert's Rules of Orders. But I needed everybody to understand the importance, why we're doing this. There's many people that did not know what we went back over again tonight. All of this paperwork, it proves that the leaders of the organization, our organization, United House of Prayer for All People, have been defrauding and manipulating and deceiving all the members of the organization since, I'm sure, day one of the first Constitution. Since that time, the members have witnessed, with the amending of each and every Constitution, more powers taken and stripped away from them and given to bishops and others around them. This paperwork shows that they've been running circles around us. The only way that that can get fixed is if our delegates now go into the General Assembly knowing that Robert's Rules of Order are in effect, knowing that the individuals in that meeting must comply with standard procedure of Robert's Rules of Order. There are some right now who's telling themselves they're not going to allow that. What I'm telling you tonight is, in the next few days, what you're going to discover is that they don't have a choice. They don't get to allow or disallow. They don't get to tell the members what they can or cannot do. It is actually unlawful, and if unlawful, illegal, for them to give ultimatums and tell the members of a nonprofit organization of which they've been taking full advantage of and helping themselves to the assets of the organization. They know that somebody's going to come knocking, and they know that they're in a world of trouble. So they're trying to do everything they can to convince the people to do nothing. The only thing that evil and wickedness needs to continue is for you and I to do nothing. They need you to go to the General Assembly this year and say nothing. They need you to do nothing. Robert's Rules of Order are going to prepare you. The first things we're going to teach and talk about is one thing at a time in every meeting. Remember, one thing at a time in every meeting. When they read these revisions and amendments and so on and so forth, the way that they read it and they give it to you in a packet, we have 47 amendments that we need you all to vote on. That's not how they say it. What they say is, we're recommending these. And what do you all say? What do you all think? Do you understand it? Are there any questions? They give it to them or they read it out loud and ask, do you have questions? In other words, there is no option in the matter. This is what's going to go forward. The problem here is every member of the General Assembly has been taking notes and minutes. And as you can see, we have some. Well, now the minutes reflect the events of each and every General Assembly. That said, one thing at a time means you read the first change that you want to apply to the Constitution, and we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to vote on that one change. Then you can read the second one until we get through 47, which means the likelihood is that talking about 47 changes to a Constitution, you're probably going to be in that meeting for several days. But to change 47 things in the Constitution, and that's done in less than 30 to 40 minutes, regulators already know what happened. So since you're going to walk in the door knowing what to expect, knowing what it should look like, knowing what should be said, knowing what is supposed to be done, now you can go in, like the song says, with a new attitude. You walk in there like the boss. Because truth be told, the law of the land says that you are. Every person coming to that meeting, the delegates in the General Assembly, every one of you as individuals coming together, you are the boss of the CEO. You are the boss of every single council member. You are the boss of every single pastor. And we're going to show you that according to the letter of the law. And we're going to also show you that the law is waiting for the members of this organization to wake up. Because there's people whose job it is to come when you call, and they will come running. But if there's something going on in your neighborhood and you have a situation on your block, the police are not just going to come speeding up over there to where you are and rush into your neighborhood and kick the doors in and handle business. Why are they not going to automatically show up? Because they don't know what's going on in your neighborhood until you call. Because our members do not know that the law is standing there waiting for us to call them to let them know that our CEO that we hired just told the entire organization that if he's fired, he ain't going nowhere. The CEO just gave an ultimatum time and time and time and time again, along with a General Assembly secretary who told everyone in the form of a veiled threat, if you don't like what's going on here and don't intend on following Mr. Y'all see those doors with the red lights at the top called exit? y'all can find y'all's way through those doors. What I'm telling you all is on the morning of the General Assembly, when y'all walk through those doors, you need to have the mentality and the mindset that there's a new sheriff in town, because that's what we're going to prepare you for, so that you never, ever, 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 never, ever walk into another General Assembly scared, intimidated, or allowing anybody to bully you. If you have a company that you built and that company has grown over the last 4.5 years, and your family can no longer do the work, and y'all determine that you're going to hire 4 people to assist you, since the company is growing, to help you hire a few other people. Well, when you reach out to people from the public to come and interview for a job, are you going to let them come into that interview and boss you around? Are they going to come into that interview and intimidate you? Well, I don't need to fill out no paperwork. Excuse me? I don't need to fill out paperwork. I'm going to be here next Monday, 9 o'clock on the dot, and you are going to show me what responsibilities you want me to carry out. Excuse me? You heard what I said. And that's how this is going to go. And I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to work for you, and you're going to pay me, and you're going to give me full benefits, vacation time, dental, vision, health care, paid leave, the whole 9, and all the overtime I want. And I'll tell you if I like it or not, or whether or not you need to change some of my responsibilities. What are y'all going to do? Y'all going to let that person come in that next Monday at 9 o'clock? Are you going to hire them? I think not. I'm sure that y'all would look at them and probably laugh hysterically. You're not about to come into my company and tell me, when I'm the boss, what I better do for you. When you have a CEO like that, those CEOs end up with scuff marks all over their bottom after they get bounced outside that door. We've been sitting here not only under a CEO who demanded that we keep him, but oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna come around whenever I feel like it, and y'all gonna pay for my meals, y'all gonna pay for my transportation, y'all gonna pay for my hotel lodging, y'all gonna give me whatever I feel like, whatever I want. And when I come in that door, y'all better line up and give me some more money. And while I'm sitting up on that seat, y'all better have some people up there singing. And you better have some musicians playing for my entertainment. And you better, when I say for somebody to get out on that floor and give you the alarm, blow that whistle, y'all better line up and come down that aisle. And you best have some more money to give to me. You better have your children ready. And you better have them babies lined up with something in their hand to bring up to me so that they can get a blessing too. Don't do it and see what happens. That's the mentality of this man. While he has people that he brought with him to be hired in your company, and they come with him on Monday morning and they say, that's right. That's right. You better have his money. You better have his money. And on Wednesday night, you better have some money for me too. Yeah, every Wednesday. And if I ain't there, still have my money. What are y'all going to do? That's what's going on here. So the more we get into this, and this we may cover by Thursday, the more you understand about this, you may end up laughing at how long you have allowed this whole thing to play out. This going on in the house of prayer is so laughable. It's beyond funny. People, what I'm telling you is to get ready. Prepare your minds. Get a notebook. Get a pen. Take a few notes down. I know it's recorded, but take a few notes down so that while you're out and about from time to time, while you're sitting and waiting from time to time, you can pull out that notebook and just read over it. Review it. We're even going to give you a cheat sheet so that you can jot down some things and you can have it with you to look at. By the way, nobody can touch you. And all these fake rules and new laws that they're trying to create to tell you that you have to do this, you have to do. Don't worry about none of that. When we get done, by the end of this week, y'all going to understand what to do. And every single thing that they're doing, Mr. Cunningham, this general counsel, and these pastors, it will be, if you follow what it is that you learn, it'll be shut down just like that. Why? Because what you don't do, all you have to do is call the authorities. You are the boss. And when a boss terminates an employee and the employee wants to become unruly, that employer not going to do anything. That employer is going to ignore them. They're just going to tell the secretary or the assistant, go ahead and get the police over here. It's that simple. No sweat. So all of these people who you've been hearing from and talking about, well, they're not gonna, and they're gonna, and if this, and if that, and all that stuff, don't even worry about it. Let me put it like this, and then we're gonna read the comments. Why do y'all think he's going through so much trouble to try to keep me out? Because he knows if I'm in that meeting, oh, it's over. The last time I was in the meeting, I did not convey to the members what Robert's rules of order allow, because I knew that the members would not understand what it was that I was doing. So I took it so that the members would become witnesses as to everything that happened to me. Now, as we reflect and look back, there's people all over the organization. Brother Lewis, you're not lying. I know you're telling the truth. I was right there. I saw it. I remember it. I even got it down in my minutes. The next time, if I'm in a situation and now I know that the people are aware of the law, now you don't have to take any type of verbal or nonverbal abuse. Because what happened when I was there, that was considered by law abuse. It's called abuse of powers. And there's other forms of abuse that many of the members don't know about. So my point is, we're going to learn, first of all, one thing at a time. We're going to learn how to obtain the floor, how to obtain the floor. We're also going to learn how you need to support and back up a motion being put on the floor. We're also going to learn how the chair manages a disagreement between two individual delegates. And we're going to learn why it is that every single member there is considered equal, and that there's not one single member at all in that room that's considered more powerful than any other member. Everybody is equal in power. And we're going to understand what that means. And we're going to also learn about having respectful dialogue. So by the time we understand all those things, you'll be up and running and ready for your own meeting. The only thing that you may not be comfortable in is how to say what needs to be said or when to say it. You still won't have nothing to worry about there, because, again, we're going to tell you exactly what it is that you need to say and when you need to say it. And for those of you who would still like to read up even more or see more about this, we're going to recommend a couple of websites to make every single thing about parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rules of Order, to make it easy, breezy to understand. To be broken down like a child, so a child would be able to themselves understand. And there's children running meetings using Robert's Rules of Order. That's how simple this is. So with all that said, I want to thank you for your time. And we're going to read through the comments that we have before we close out. Dwayne, hello, sisters and brothers. Hello. Hello, Jamal. Good evening. Frankie House is wonderful. Hello, wonderful souls. Hello. Frankie House says, where is Eddie? And what is he doing about his children? Oh, Addie. Yeah, I'm not so sure if he is aware of this situation yet in Virginia. I know he's more than likely he's aware now because he watches these videos. Tonight, however, he may have been out at one of the houses, so he may not find out until he gets back in, and then we'll see from there. But yes, we are hoping and expecting for him to have somebody reach out on behalf of the organization so that we can help these individuals. Again, you have over, I was told 40, 45-ish. There's a minimum of 35 families, households, members of the House of Prayer. But again, we shouldn't be helping them simply because we have members there. You should be helping them because they're people. And we are to do unto one another as we would have them do unto us. Right? So we'll see. We'll see. Escarain says, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Frankie says, praise God for the help of others. Yes, yes, praise Yah. The Red Cross, and the other one is the Ivy Baptist. Yes, Ivy Baptist Church of Newport News, Virginia. B. Mevdeman says, hey, hello, everyone. Hello. The Lives of Him and Her. Good evening, everyone. Please hit thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Together, let's spread light and inspire others through the algorithm. Thank you. And thank you, the Lives of Him and Her. We appreciate you as always. Thank you for your help. Wally says, hello and peace to all. Brother Lewis, thank you for all you do. God blessing and protection for those that are experiencing tragedy. Now is the time for change. We get to do this. I like that. He put a spin on a slogan that Mr. Cunningham was using throughout the year last year, which incidentally, for those of you that do not know, it's a slogan that came from, if I'm not mistaken, Hillsong Church. They came up with that slogan in 2012. Mr. Cunningham does a lot of repeating of information that he gets from other places. Oh, yeah, we have to come back so I can do another response to another speech. Anyway, I could hear more of some of what we've taught here on our channel coming from Mr. Cunningham. So somebody said, well, it's a good thing, Brother Lewis, that he's watching and going out and repeating things that you all are saying. Maybe it'll help him. Maybe he'll himself hear and hear. Yes, it is an opportunity for all of us to do what it is that we can to help this cause. But again, when he listens to others, including our studies, the intent for him is to take it back, to give impressions, for himself to receive credit for things, which is fine as long as the information is shared as it was put out. So sometimes Mr. Cunningham will spin things. But again, I'm just noticing that he's sharing more things as we talked about in our studies. What was this one? What was this one? This one, I think, came out 2 days ago. And I might be responding to this one tomorrow. But anyway, let me go back to the comments. Thank you for that, Wally. Standing rules. They set up themselves with power and deceive the people with the word for us to believe it. It's time to break up the old saying, don't let one hand show what the other hand is doing. Yeah. They've been stripping the members of power. Not members of power. They've been stripping the members of the power that they have in the organization by writing new amendments to the Constitution. Now, the members need to understand, you've never had a part of creating anything in the Constitution. The Constitution has always been written by these bishops or people who they use in order to come up with things that they're going to put in a place that's going to take things from the people. And this has been going on, well, since the beginning. Like I said, I read a letter the other day where Mr. Cunningham, Mr. Bailey wrote something, and it actually says that Mr. Grace was the one who wrote the original Constitution. And this is what I was saying before. These bishops are the ones writing this stuff. This isn't from people. So I doubt that the members of the organization has ever had a hand in the Constitution. So this is actually exciting that the members will have the opportunity to take the power and the authority back that was taken unlawfully by writing illegal amendments. So again, that can be done easily and it can be done quickly. And we're going to show you this. The lies of him and her. Brothers and sisters, together we move with purpose and heart. Please thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell. Let's reach more souls and prove that we get to do this. In unity, Robert's Rules of Order. Absolutely. Um, Anybody, if you want to get a jump on what we're going to be covering, you can go on to YouTube. There's thousands of videos on YouTube. Um, there's demonstrations, there's animated versions, there's cartoons, there's individuals who give lectures, and there's some that give 3-4 minute videos where they're explaining one subject at a time. There's hundreds of thousands of pages on the internet explaining Robert's Rules of Order, as well as the laws, and how to utilize them in these meetings. But it's there at your fingertips, and for the most part, it's absolutely free of charge. Free of charge. So the more you read up on it, the more you learn about it, the easier it will be for you to understand that there's literally no reason at all for us to be afraid. There's no reason for anybody to be intimidated. And this is why I say, once you learn, you'll be walking like a boss. Okay? So thank you again for that, the lives of him and her. Roy Holly, how can I help? I want to be a part of this. I too have left the house of prayer. Let me know where I can assist. Absolutely. Tell you what, write us at the email address. Write us at the email address that was posted earlier by the lives of him and her. We stand for right 2024 at gmail.com. Write us there, send me your phone number, and I don't mind calling you so that we can talk directly and go from there. But thank you so much for your desire to help, as well as for your offer. So I look forward to hearing from you. I'll be checking. Golden Boy, oh snap! Sorry, running late. No problem. The lives of him and her. Welcome at Roy Holly 2410. There you go. The lives of him and her, got it covered. Please put questions in the chat or email them. Brother Lewis will answer questions throughout his commentary and at the end. Email address, we stand for right 2024 at gmail.com. Thank you again. And yes, we actually don't mind doing anything live. I do need to revisit some of the most recent videos so that I can read those comments out and respond to them. I simply have not had time enough to go back and pick them apart, but I do intend on bringing them out into the open so that everybody can hear the comments as well as the questions on the videos. But thank you again, the lives of him and her. Hello at Golden Boy. Dwayne says all these men are crooks and thieves. Yes, it's unfortunate, but we have so much of it going on. And anytime it looks like you can get away with something, no one's going to know the wiser. If you've been doing something for so long, I've said before, a lot of times time going by is the grace and the mercy that you're being given to consider and turn around, repent, and to not go back. However, if individuals don't take that opportunity, then it's in the Father's hands. So we're doing what we need to do to expose all this corruption and all this theft and all these other things going on behind the backs of the members. Um, there's somebody who shared something with me today. And we were talking about how many of the properties, are infested. Rodents, insects. Um, there's a very real problem when you're dealing with things that you don't always easily see. Sometimes mold or mildew. That is a very, very, very big problem. Um, and they talked about something called hantavirus. Hantavirus with an H, pulmonary syndrome, is a rare but serious disease caused by hantaviruses carried mainly by rodents, especially deer, mice in the United States. Deer mice. No, deer, no, yeah, deer mice. People can become infected when they breathe in tiny particles from rodent urine, their droppings, their saliva, or even nesting materials. And this is serious because many people have been enduring these things for a while and have not kept up with their own condition, only to find that they have a condition that's worsened. Um, and many times to find out these conditions a little too late. How many people have we heard say, had I known then? Right. So we don't want to be in this situation where we're looking back and regretting any of our inability to do anything because we did not have information yet. Now that we have the information, now that we're learning even more, now that we're gaining knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we want to do what's necessary to not only utilize it, but we want to utilize it to our best possible outcomes so that we can begin to put the organization in alignment with the powers that be, the laws that are in the land, and stop all of the things that's been going on now for 100 years and more. It's been said this is 108 years anniversary. Um, but it's not due to a lot of successes. It's due to a lot of things that's been hidden from the public. And apparently now we know hidden from the members of the organization. So our aim is to get through this, do what we need to do to fix this. It can all be fixed in one day, in a matter of a few minutes, through the form of a vote. And that'll be over and we can move on. So that said, let me continue. And yes, once again, that was on point with what you shared, Ms. Kareen. So now we know what the bishop's job is. The last comment was Dwayne. I kind of read ahead. Now we know what the bishop's job is besides collecting money from house to house. He revises the Constitution and bylaws, all the other bylaw books, so that it takes the power away from members. In a nutshell, that's what he does. That's what he does. So as we prepare to finish up, And that's what he's doing now, going from city to city, doing the exact same thing. And we saw that he just changed the Constitution again by adding his own name. Um, and that was so very necessary for him because it's also in the law that the section of the Constitution which applies to the removal of a bishop, it's worded that that does not apply to him. However, sir, the law of the land will allow you to find out um, as quickly as possible that they really don't care about a whole lot of rules um, that apply to people who's been taking advantage of other people, especially children, uh, individuals that have been doing these things for years and years and years. Like I said, it seems that they've gotten by, but they're not getting away. And people can feel uh, some of the concern that others have had, and they can feel some of the concern that people still have because a lot of people are just hoping and praying for the outcome of this General Assembly. Either way, we know that our Father has it. No matter what happens, it's in his hands and he has full control. So we want to keep trusting in him. And thank you again for that comment, Ms. Kareen. B. Mevderman says at Kareen, that's exactly what it means. Bishop Cunningham has stripped his members of their own power. Right, right. And as Kareen is saying that as he continues going forward, because Mr. Cunningham's hand has now been in the changing of 24, 23, 22. There's 3, 24, 25, and 26. I'm just counting the vehicles. Um, that I remember over the years in the house of prayer. Um, and if you just look at that alone, just that one little thing concerning the vehicles, that shows personal benefit. It shows inurement. And when it comes to these leaders doing anything and everything, especially in the sense of buying high ticket items and luxury items, um, and we're looking at Maybachs or Rolls Royces or limousines, whatever the case may be, the power grab from the Constitution to give it to themselves from the people is so that they can do things like that, so that they can buy fleets of vehicles and buses to market their own name on it, to build houses and apartment complexes and shopping centers and office buildings, not so much houses of prayer, but to take that power, like Ms. Kareen and B. Mevderman says, unlawfully from the people who have given you all of their trust and who are willing to give you their everything, to take the power from them and to use it against them. That's the sad part. The power that has been entrusted, and then the power that um, you've taken to use it against the people that you have trusting you. This is the worst part of our General Assembly and the worst part of the constitutions, because the people have wholeheartedly believed in it. So this is the only way we can fix it. This is the only way we can get around it other than outside. And when it comes to all these things that's been purchased, vehicles, cars, houses, land, all that stuff, listen, all of that will take care of itself. I don't want to go into detail about what's going to happen there. All of those things will take care of itself. All we need to do is pay attention, to these next few videos and learn as much as you can learn. I don't want to sound like a broken record or beating a dead horse, but I keep reiterating the same things leading up to this because of its importance. So when we come back tomorrow, we're going to talk about these 6 things, and then we're going to go in. To build your confidence. And the more you know, the more confident you will be. Every single person in here. And again, I'll say one more time, no worrying. They're the ones who are worried right now. You here on this team, this side, do not need to worry at all whatsoever. By the end of this week, you may be more emboldened or more confident than you've ever been before. So we'll see how this turns out, and we'll see how many people are itching to get to Washington, D.C. That said, thank you again, Ms. Corrine and B. Mevdeman. The lives of him and her. Any amendment made to the Constitution must be voted on and approved by the members of the General Assembly. Power to amend does not rest with the bishop or the General Council, that part. And they cannot amend anything and ask you to just give a simple vote, because that shows that the amendment process is broken. It shows that which we have put up to tell our children. So looking at these things, as we see evidence in front of us, it should allow us to become more and more and more and more confident. And we should be leaving and getting further and further and further away from a spirit of fear or intimidation or any other word that we know has been a bother for some of us for so very long. But again, you don't need to be afraid of anything going forward. Thank you for that comment, Eliza, from her. Wally says, honestly, trying my best to come up with a reasonable reason for our leaders to do things consistently like this. It hurts to know that I've had generations of family in this. Prayers to end this. Right there, that comment right there is one that many, many people all over the organization are making. Many people. Many. I've told people, even if you don't take your membership off, don't ever take your membership, but don't ever leave the organization entirely. It's one thing to be in the religious side. It's another thing altogether to be on the business side. So I'm on the business side while making comments towards the religious side. And a lot of them is for the purposes of fixing things that are being misconstrued or things that are being taken out of context. But you certainly, and everyone, you certainly don't want to leave wholeheartedly the organization. Make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's if you do. We have a little bit more work, but again, these next few days, you all should be prepared in a matter of a couple of hours. And again, we're going to lay it out in front of you what it should look like when you go. So you won't have nothing to worry about. Even going, you will probably become excited. So anyway, let's get to the last few comments. And thank you, Wally. There's a lot of people in your predicament with family as well as friends who are still active. Some of them are still willing to give the shirt literally off his back. I don't know what else to say other than there's people all over that's been praying hard. And now they're saying that they can see that there's a great possibility where this is over. And I'm saying, even if people don't see anything, there's a lot going on right now that nobody sees and that no one's hearing. But you'll find out soon enough, soon enough. That said, quality of proof. If you suspect any wrongdoing, fraud, waste, and abuse, please reach out to the FBI. Please call 1-800-CALL-FBI to report corruption, money laundering, and tax fraud. Right? Make sure you have as much detail as you can, and make sure that you are prepared for anything and everything going forward, because this is now crunch time, and people are going to panic when they see that things are not going their way. He and the council right now, there's some things that I've been picking up. I need to confirm it. So if I'm not mistaken, they've been holding meetings, and they're still right now trying to plot and plan around that Friday. And the word is that the more they can hear about what we're doing, the better it is, the better it will be for them to prepare. Well, I hope that made sense. With that in mind, John Sales, quality of proof, thank you for that. John Sales is right. It's a new virus by rodents. Oh, I heard about that. I didn't put a lot more thought into it. So people, you want to be on the lookout for many things, And thank you for that, John. The wicked will never get away. The Father will repay in just time. Yes, 100%. We can't be afraid. You can't lose hope. Again, we have all of the authorities and powers on our side. My not doing a whole lot up until this point in time, my not doing a lot was to help people who's looking to help. When we see seniors, widows, fatherless, motherless children, and now the latest is these fires, and there seems to be nothing that happens, nothing. My heart goes out, and we have way too much work to do than to sit back and not do anything because we tell ourselves it's not our fault. All of it, every last one of it, every bit of it is something that we should consider. That said, let me go ahead and finish these last couple of comments. Hantavirus. I'm very familiar with it and trained in hantavirus cleanup while I was in the Air Force. Heard of one airman dying of it. Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. They're trying to keep things under wraps so far. From what I'm aware, they have been able to do just that. Um, and when it comes to uh, anyone that's involved in a race, while these things are being done as far as tagging walls, um, it is a huge deal when it comes to what it is that we're doing, because the ones doing the tagging, threatening, um, and yelling and screaming are the ones actually that are the most afraid. So when you see that they're the ones running scared, what does that tell you? If they're the ones running scared, it means that you really have been asleep, right? So with that in mind, you all get ready. It's going to be an exciting ride, but it's going to be peaceful. We'll be unified, and it's going to be peaceful. Let me show you all how to quietly walk out flexing. Um, so thank you for that, Golden Boy. Um, oh, also crazy how the story of this rat disease starts in Cape Verde. Wow, home of Mr. Grace. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, but it says a lot, especially for those individuals who um, have read. There was a book that somebody wrote um, on the celebrity life or the celebrity bishop, something like that. Mr. C.M. Grace. Um, the celebrity, something by tongue. If you look it up, you'll find it. But if you read it, and this is by an individual who did a lot of research, a ton of research, and they put anything and everything that they found, they put into that book. People raised some issues about it, but it has not made any impact. And most of the time, when people um, go into defense of something, then quite often it's because they're afraid of the damage that it's going to do for the lie that's been told and the lies that have survived over all of these decades. So um, you all get ready because it's going to be exciting. Um, Golden Boy says taking power is a breach of trust. Yes, it is a breach of the fiduciary duties as well. And you all are going to learn about all of that too. Um, uh, some of you might be a little afraid when you hear this, but trust me, it's going to empower you. If you listen to it all attentively, you'll understand how empowered you will become when you get this other information. And Golden Boy, I bet some councilmen will literally, oh boy. We have some situations, and we hope that people just simply do what they have to do, what's necessary. We hope that people just you see the writing on the wall. Um, we hope some people come forward, and that's the only thing I can say to help try to curve anything for anyone. But it must not be fun for anyone that's engaging in these things. Um, it's again, once we get done, this whole thing should be over. And that's what we're looking forward to. So, with that said, I want to again thank everybody for your time. I want to thank you for hanging out with us. I thank you for listening in. I hope that all of these things made sense. I hope that even your young people and your children, they're seeing and they're understanding what it is that we're sharing and talking about. Um, I hope that that is the case. With that said, everyone, um, thank you for your time. We're going to come back tomorrow, and tomorrow's Tuesday. I may be able to come on so much earlier. I would like to try to give a response to Mr. Cunningham, and there's something that I would like to do with the Sunday school book as well. So anyway, we'll see. Until tomorrow, we hope that everyone has a wonderful, wonderful night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We hope that our Father allows us to wake up fully alert, fully energized, and ready to take on the day. This week is our last full week. Next week, the stage will be set. With that said, let's get excited and prepare to see what our Father is going to allow. Enjoy the rest of your night. Have a lovely, lovely night, and we'll see you all in the next video. Have a good one, everybody.